My name is Jake. We live on an 8-acre ivy farm, and this is my 1959 Minneapolis Moline 4-star. In this video, we're going to be replacing this belt drive seal right here. So I mentioned this in the last video. The PTO clutch drags in this tractor, and it's always spinning because right now it's actually not engaged, or not supposed to be engaged, but the clutch pack is too tight or something. And that's quite the job to get in there and adjust it. So we're not going to do that right now. But since that's always engaged, that's always spinning, and it leaks pretty bad. And you can see just from being in here, and just from backing in it, it's leaked that much fluid out. So we have a new seal, and there's a big nut, and we got that pulley adapter piece to take off, and then we'll take the other piece off there and see how hard this is going to be. So it looks like that big nut is going to be a 1 7/16, and I got the PTO locked in so it shouldn't spin. And then we're going to try to take this off. It seems like it doesn't lock in the forward or engaged when the tractor's not running. I'm not really sure what's up with that, but maybe it's supposed to be like that. But it looks like it's not gonna stop it from spinning. Let me figure something out. Alright, so I took the fender off so I could get in here a little easier with the impact. And I think this will buzz it right off, so. Yeah, there we go. The fender was only held on by 6 bolts, so it wasn't too bad. This is on a spline shaft, so I'll get a puller or something, or see if that'll come off. Alright, I got the puller on this. Let's see how stubborn this is going to be.
One eternity later.
I'd say she was pretty tight. Here's what that piece looks like. This looks like the seal surface right here, and it's just got big splines. So yeah, and then your big belt pulley would just bolt to it, so to drive whatever you wanted off the back of it. Let's go ahead and I think it's 5 bolts. And that piece right there. I need to loosen this one up. Because I figured it would leak oil, which it is. Alright, let's see if we can break this seal open. I don't have this gasket, so I think we just got to seal it back up with silicone. That's not what I was expecting to come out, but there we go. Here's a look inside. That's the fluid level right there. And then that pulley was being driven off that gear right there. And then there's a big bull gear right here on the end. That's a part of the final drive for the axle. That big gear's this one right here, connected to the axle. And then I don't really know what else. Looks like the PTO shaft's right there. So, all right, so I took it over to the press and I pressed the shaft out of here. It takes quite a bit of force, so if you just have a hammer, good luck. But you got that out, and this should give me some more room to be able to get in here and pop the seal out now. I tell you what, I've probably been fighting with this thing for like 20 minutes. And you can tell it's kind of a bit of a war zone. But I finally got it to pop up out of here. I had like torn off parts of it with the vice grips and tried to pry it. I tried to run a self-tapper through it to give me something to pry on, but I couldn't get through the backside. It was too thick. But it is out now. It's a little tricky, and you can't hit it from the backside because the bearing's in the way. So let's clean this bearing up and put a new seal on. But it's getting late, and I think I'm gonna do that tomorrow. So I'll see you guys then. All right, let's go ahead and get this thrown together. Gonna reuse the old bearings. There's nothing wrong with them. Make sure you put the bearing in first. And then this is a regular lip seal. So lip always goes towards the oil. So it's kind of a different type of seal where it's got metal on both sides. A lot of time you see just a metal jacket on this side, and it's pretty much hollow here. But we're gonna put this in, and the old one was flush with the top of the cover here, so we'll do the same thing, and we'll get it seated down in here. Holy interference fit. That one was pretty tight, a little difficult to get started, but sometimes you got to beat on them a little bit. I like using the dead blow hammers. They're a little softer and forgiving than the just a metal hammer. Sometimes I use a wood block, but you can get it eventually. Let's get the shaft pressed back into it, and then we'll throw it back on the machine. Okay, so what I got going on here, I'm trying to get this shaft back in it, and I realized I probably should have, I guess, put the seal on after the bearing was pressed back onto the shaft, because now I'm having to use a pipe, which just so happens to be like the perfect size, and I'm hammering it on there right now. I'm gonna see if I can hammer it on all the way. If not, I'll cut, this pipe's pretty long, so I'll cut a chunk of the pipe off and I'll use the press, but I'm gonna see how far I can get it with just hammering on it. So I'll let you know how this goes. So hammering on it seemed to work. I'm gonna put the other piece on now, because I should be able to put it on now and just bolt it to the machine and put the fender back on, and we'll be good to go. All right, so I'm putting this, I don't really know what they call it, but the pulley adapter piece on, and I got it started with a hammer, but I'm gonna finish it off with the press, and maybe I can get the nut put on. Should be about good. Looks like we still got a little bit of slop, so we can push it down a little more. There we go. No more slop up and down. Spins nice and free. That's how we want it. Got the nut back on here. I just kind of ran it back in with the impact. You don't need to make it too tight. It's a nylock nut, and it's really just kind of stopping things from falling apart because it's already pressed together. So I'm gonna clean up this gear face down here and everything else on it, so we can slide it right in, and we're not getting any dirt inside the transmission or nothing. Alright, so I smeared some silicone on this side. The gasket is still on the transmission here. It kind of stayed in one piece. So, but I'm guessing that has something to do with how far the gears mesh together, because that's gonna directly relate to how far in this housing goes. So I put a thin layer of silicone on the piece. So we're gonna put it in real quick because this hole is open to the fluid, which is right there, and it starts draining out. So we'll take that bolt in, put it in real quick, and then get it tightened down. I think it's about as good as a shot as I can get. This pesky PTO lever is kind of in the way. Of course. I just fell in the oil pan, that's nice. All right, we got it installed. Let's start the tractor up and see if it leaks before I put this fender back on. All right, so we seem to fix that leak, so that's good. We still have the axle seals to do. We'll do them in another video. But let's get this fender thrown back on here, and then this tractor can get out of the shop for a few days and work on some other stuff. All right, so I got this fender put back on. I put some new hardware on it. I was just looking for lock washers for the old stuff, but I found these guys, so I threw them on there. So that looks better. The old ones were pretty rusty, so that helps. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. So there'll be future videos. We got a lot more work to do to this tractor. So, but thanks for watching, everybody. If you have any questions, leave it down in the comments, and I'll answer them. So I'll see you next time.